Hey, thanks so much for finding the video. Do us a favor. If you haven't done so yet, please subscribe. Be sure to leave your comment. We love to interact. Enjoy the video. I got to start with what is the big news of the day in the NFL, and that is the Carson Wentz trade. Man, Mike, I'm stunned that Philly's going to eat that cap hit. I'm stunned that Indy gave him anything for him. What was your reaction to that trade?
No, I think it was a fair trade. I don't think there was a lot of suitors for Carson Wentz, and that's obvious. Look what you got in return for Wentz in comparison to a 33-year-old Matt Stafford.
Yeah.
Look the comparison. Man, and for people will holler, man, Matt Stafford, you got to be kidding me. No, look the difference in compensation. Man, it's a huge market there, and you didn't have it for Carson. So first things first, this really tells me that Chris Ballard, who I have a lot of respect for as a GM, he trusts Frank Reich, his head coach.
Sure.
Frank was in Philly with Carson, and in that special year that they won it, and was part of the development of certainly of Carson Wentz. And I think he feels as though he can do some rehab here with Wentz. I've seen a lot of different things about he's never been the same since his knee injury. You can come back from the knee injury. The major concern I would have, and certainly I would go to my team doctors with, is, listen, I know he's got a back injury. And in watching him and his setup and his delivery, I'm much more concerned about the back than I am the knee. For some people, and, it's a kind of a small majority, you have a back injury and you can come back pretty quickly and you really feel great and almost instant relief from the pain you've had. And for others, it sort of lingers. When I watch Carson Wentz, a lot of that to me looks like body balance skills, the way he sets up his delivery is a little bit different. So it's affecting his throwing. And, so I'm sure somewhere along the lines, some Colts doctors have taken a glimpse of things with his back. He's still 28 years old. So if you've hit, look what you gave up. Basically a third-round pick. And it's going to end up being a first-round pick because, barring an injury, he's going to hit those settlements, so to speak, to get you from round 2 to round 1. But this is a Frank Reich call here. There's no question about it. And Chris Ballard is leaning on him to say, hey, listen, you got to give me the lowdown. Is he worth this? And I think Frank said, yeah, I think he is, and let's go with it. The other thing, too, is Ballard could have said, you know what, man, in-house, look what I got. I got Jacoby Brissett. I got Eason, the gunslinger from Washington. Let's give that a shot. Man, hell no, I don't want to do that. You can be conned with that. You can be conned by what's in your room, thinking that's the best you can get. So, listen, I give Frank Reich a lot of credit. He wasn't falling for that. His deal was, no, listen, we got to go here. We got to get us a quarterback, and I think I can do the rehab on Wentz. And when you look at it, Matt, doesn't it look almost like the Colts and the Saints are staring into the same sort of mirror? You look at how they built with a real strong offensive line. The Colts defensively are a pretty good football team. Now, they do need to add a corner. I think that's something. You just never have enough of them, but you need to add a cornerback. On the flip side, on offense, man, you got two weapons, young weapons that you picked last year. And Michael Pittman, who's a really good receiver, Southern Cal kid, man, he really played well down the stretch, a big 6'4", 225-pound wide receiver. And you got Jonathan Taylor, Wisconsin. Man, from November all the way to the end, man, Taylor was terrific. If you're a fantasy football guy, you know, man, listen, Taylor came through big time if you picked him. He wasn't great early on, but, boy, he was big late. You got a really good offensive line, but you have a missing piece there because Anthony Costello retired at left tackle. So here I'm walking into this draft and into free agency, and I got capital now to spend in free agency. I got two early picks. I got a first and a second round pick. So I can fix those needs. And you look at the Saints. They have an older version of Pittman and Taylor with Michael Thomas and Alvin Kamara. Their offensive line is really good. Defensively, you got some pieces of the puzzle there.
Yeah.
It's the quarterback situation, and it's the stare in the mirror, so to speak, at the exact same type football team. There are some differences subtly, but basically you're looking at the same thing. Frank Wright, an offensive-minded coach, really good quarterback. Sean Payton, the exact same thing. And so I just think the coach felt, listen, in the AFC, what we're seeing here, and we brought it up the last couple of weeks, how look at the shift now in the AFC with quarterbacks, the young kids now hitting that, from Lamar Jackson to Patrick Mahomes to Allen, Justin Herbert, Tua, Baker Mayfield. And look at the NFC. It's the old Pops League. You got Brady. Breeze is going to walk. We get that. But Matt Ryan, Aaron Rodgers is not a young guy anymore. Man, you got some age across the board here where it's totally different look. And certainly what the Rams did to say, you know what, I think we one player away. It's that quarterback. Let's go get Stafford. If he gives us 3 to 4 years and can get us to the big game and win us a Super Bowl, we're satisfied with it. It's sort of now appeasing young owners in this league. And not to say Jimmy's young, but Jimmy, sort of like a young guy, Jimmy Irsay. He's had more than his fair share of issues, but he's certainly different than his pop. Man, Robert Irsay, good gracious. But Jimmy was a different dude. Man, Jimmy partied with the players. Irsay, he was just counting money at his mansion. Yeah. Oh, yeah. And so, but what you're seeing is a young group of owners hitting the NFL. They've made their money a different way than what happened in Detroit or Chicago or New Orleans or other places. They made it fairly quick, in the tech world for a lot of them. Investments, if it's Tesla or Amazon, you name it.
Yeah.
That's how they made their money. Man, 3 years. Man, listen, don't tell me nothing about no 3-year plan. I don't want to hear nothing about it. And they have older people that adjust the same way. They say, wait a minute, man, I don't want to hear about we playing for 2022 and 2023. What about now? Look what happened with the Bucks. What happened to them? They went from a middle-of-the-road team to winning a Super Bowl? No, I want to be like that. Now, there's only one Brady. So you get that. But I think, Matt, we're entering a new world of the NFL where this is very reminiscent to me of me growing up late 60s into the 70s. And no doubt into the 60s, it was dominated by, the Packers with Bart Starr, the Colts, certainly with Johnny Unitas, who was just an unbelievable player at that time. And the Cowboys had Don Meredith, and I think is one of the more underrated players of the 60s for what he did. He didn't win it all, but, man, he got you there a couple of times. He got you to the summit. And look what happened in the AFC all of a sudden. Bang, Miami gets Bob Greasy. The Raiders get Stabler. The Steelers get Terry Bradshaw. Young quarterbacks, they changed the world. Who dominated in the 70s?
Steelers.
Other than the Cowboys with Roger, man, they had everything kind of going for them. But they did it with a great young quarterback. So, man, it's the look of two different things here in the NFC and the AFC of how philosophy-wise it's changed. And God bless the Eagles and Eagles fans. Man, all I can tell you is Howie Weissman, he's made one good decision in his life, and that's picking Miles Sanders, the running back for the Eagles. He ain't done squat as a general manager there. And so if you think that him being clever and smart, then that's out of the vocabulary with him. He's made one bad move after the other. And, it is what it is. In the NFC East, that could easily have been taken, right? Couldn't you have easily taken over that division?
Yeah.
When you look at the AFC East, okay, Washington, God bless Alex Smith, but you know how hobbled he was, and yet he got you to a playoff game. The Cowboys without Dak are a totally, totally different football team. Totally. And the Giants, it's like 52 pickup. They throw in different players every year. And if you think Daniel Jones is winning for you, man, listen, I got a ski lodge right behind my house here on the bayou to sell you. Daniel Jones ain't winning you squat. So this was a great opportunity for the Eagles, and Weissman, he let it slip away because they really had it going for a while. And man, name me that great draft pick that they've had over the last 2 or 3 years.
Mike, even Jalen Reagor this last year when you had Justin Jefferson on the board, crazy.
No, listen, we're doing draft coverage, and I'm not going to say who it is because it's obvious. He hollers into the mic. It's Justin Jefferson.
Obvious. It's already obvious.
I said, wait a minute. They didn't make the pick yet. Now, listen, we all thought it. We all thought that's where Jefferson would have went because it looked to be a great fit for the Eagles. And they came up Jalen Reagor. And I'm like, what? You got to be kidding me. But other than Miles Sanders at running back, they have really whiffed and whiffed and whiffed. The free agent guys haven't worked out at all. And so, listen, they got a lot of people in the media because Howie was in the media. And I thought he was a really good guy when he worked on television. He brought a little bit of aspect of salary cap and how you judge it and all that. But good gracious, him as the real McCoy as the GM, he has shipwrecked this Philadelphia Eagle football team. And, okay, he's getting rid of Wentz because that takes the pressure off of him. Next year, what happens when they win 5 or 6 games again?
Great point.
Then that owner's going to say, hey, Hoss, you out of here. You can go back to ESPN and do your commentary because you ain't coming back.
We spent the first segment talking about the big news in the NFL, Wentz out in Philly, so that's settled now. But there's a domino effect, and this, of course, all comes back in some ways to the Saints and their ability to get a deal done with Jameis or whatever it may be because, as you said, there could be bidding wars for all these different guys because quarterbacks are in demand. So what's the effect, the domino effect here? So what happens, what do you think happens here in Philly replacing Wentz and then thereafter?
Well, obviously they're going to go with Jalen Hurts here. I mean, they've handed him the baton.
Wow.
That's not even a debate here. That's what they're going to go with. They're going to go with Jalen. And we've seen it, his sort of inconsistent nature as a player. Man, he can make some plays with his feet. He's a big power runner. At times he throws the football really well, and then other times he's high and wide and all over the place. So get used to it. That's what you're going to see with Hurts. I mean, this isn't college football. You're not at Alabama and you're not at Oklahoma anymore. This is the big leagues. And so it's going to be different. But, he's going to struggle there. And a lot of it having to do with the fact that what else is around him? You got to give him some help somewhere along the way. And their offensive line is getting older. What's going to happen with Zach Ertz? Looks as though they're going to try to move him. And so Dallas Goedert would be the guy at tight end. Reagor flashed it last year. They're really only one guy, and that's Miles Sanders that you can say that guy, I know he can play. I want him on my team. But, man, they've got some real difficulties there. I think the next domino to fall will be in New York and what happens with Sam Darnold.
Okay.
Who's in the final year of his rookie deal. And so you would have a year to kind of decide what you want to do there with Sam, one way or another. I sort of think you could get a late first-round pick for him. I don't know about an early to mid, but I think you could get a pick in the 20s for Sam Darnold. Or you could maybe combine that with a 2 and a 3 or whatever you wanted to do there. But I think he's the next guy to go. You look at where the Jets are sitting at in the draft, and they know Trevor's going 1. So, they would have their choice of anybody other than Trevor Lawrence. And I think they would be a heavy player in the Deshaun Watson situation, which I think is going to be after that. There is no way the Texans can really believe he's going to come back. They have to come up with the best deal available. And if that's to the Jets, if that's to Carolina, who seems to be a very aggressive team today, Denver, though, if I'm Houston, why would I why would I send him to Denver? Man, I would if I could trade him, I'd trade him to the NFC.
Right.
So I think those are the two dominoes to fall, and one with Darnold, who I think you could probably get a late first-round pick for. If not, then it would be a combination of an early second and a third. And Watson, who I think I want a starting player and 3 first-round picks. And I think you could get it. You'd have a line from my house here on the Bayou to Baton Rouge. If that was the deal, that I'd give you up a starting player and 3 first-round picks.
Like, why do people seem to scoff at that notion that's because I'm 100% with you. You'd have a superstar quarterback, but why is it that there's such a mental block for people when you talk about like 3 first-round picks? Oh, that's so much. Because there's so much uncertainty there as well.
Well, that's what I say. What guarantee you have of that? 3 first-round picks. I know one thing. Deshaun Watson changed my football team overnight. And if you don't believe that, then God bless you. But he changes my football team. I don't care who he's on overnight. He's that good of a player. Not to kind of break everything, but every year in my draft book, I do a deal where I go to 12th, and this year it's 13. Somebody volunteered. I want to do it. I said, okay, give me your top 100 players, 1 all the way through 100.
Mm-hmm.
Now, 1 through 10 to 11, they basically almost all the same. It goes to show how crazy this league is from 12 to 100. Man, you got some guys that rank one guy 14th, and he ranks somebody else ranks him 98th. So if you think there's debate on the draft,
right.
These are guys working in the league, and they have no consensus other than the top. Deshaun Watson finished 4th best player in the NFL. Okay, and it was clear cut. He was 4. Clear cut. He was the 4 guy. Because the 5th guy, he was a pretty clear-cut 5. But that goes to show you in this league of what they think of Deshaun Watson as a player. I'd give up 3 first-round picks in a heartbeat for him. Because at his age, his talent level, his charisma as a player and a leader, no, you can't bail out that franchise. It's almost unbailable at this stage. And what they have ownership-wise, front office-wise, the whole works. Not if I didn't know no better, I'd have swore John Meekum Jr. came back, and bought the Houston Texans, because John's still living, that he said, I'll give this another shot. I'll buy the Texans instead. I didn't do too well with the Saints. It's almost like he bought this team too. How much they have screwed this up from one end to the other, and has there been one guy that's left there that has said one good thing about him?
No.
You think about even guys that, because Belichick's hard on players. They'll always say, man, listen, he's a great coach. No, he's hard on us, but he's a really great coach. People that have left the Saints, man, listen, it's run well. I mean, I think a lot of Sean, and he treated us like men and everything else. But, man, that's not even in the vocabulary for guys that have played for the Texans. Even guys that have worked for them have made that similar comment. So I think the next 2 big dominoes will be Sam Darnold with the Jets, and eventually it'll happen with Watson. You're going to have to deal him off. It's a public relations nightmare in Houston right now. And the longer you keep him, the longer the nightmare lasts. And you know what you can get for him. They can say, oh, we're not listening to offers. Yeah, right. Come on. I'm stupid, but I'm not that stupid. They're listening to everything people guys talk to them about because they know they're eventually going to have to deal him off. I can tell the media whatever I want. Whatever I want. It doesn't really matter. That doesn't mean it's the truth. Last year, I'll never forget, this was a January second guess. And Gay Culverhouse, who was the former president of the Bucks, and actually part owner because her dad owned the team and she owned it. And then she's, the family, her and her brother Hugh sold it to the Glazers. And until Gay passed away in the summer, she was close with the Glazers. And I don't know if she should have even told us this, but that was typical Gay. she was like, I'm going to tell you, I asked him about Jameis Winston. I said, Gabe, what's going to happen there? She said, he's gone. I talked to Malcolm and I talked to Brian Glazer, and they told me the decision's made, he's gone. But they're going to put a nice face on this. They're going to move on. But I'm like, well, hey, so we look at one another, it's like, uh-oh. And she was like, well, maybe I spoke a little bit out of line. But she said, what difference does it make? It ain't a CIA secret. They've made the decision, and they think highly of Jameis, but they feel as though they have to move on. And there's going to be a new quarterback in Tampa Bay in 2020. She said, I don't care what anybody tells you. I don't care what the general manager or Bruce says. They're going to have a new quarterback. That decision's been made. So people said, well, how good of a source is that? How good of a source? That's one owner talking to another owner. How good of better of a source? It goes to show you a little bit. She sort of let the cat out the bag, but she didn't really care. That was the least of her worries. When you got, man, listen, when you got a couple $100 million, you're not worried about somebody being upset with you because you said, oh, Winston's not going to be back with the Bucs next year. That was the least of her worries. But it does go to show you the carousel now is starting to move. And that deal of, man, I think we one player away, and it's that quarterback. And the price for a young guy like Watson is expensive, but I wouldn't even blink. 3 first-round picks, okay, tell me which starting player you want. Okay, we might debate on that one, but the 3 first-round picks, we're not even debating on. I'll give it to you. Because if that came to a deal with the Saints, which I don't think or wouldn't think would happen because of where you pick, because I can get first-round picks much higher. If I give you up the 28th pick this year, that might be the highest first-round pick I give you for the next couple years.
That's true.
With a guy like Watson, because he's going to be able to get a good team and take it to another level. Nothing against Alex Smith in Kansas City. God bless him. He's one tough dude. But he couldn't get him to the big game. It took the young kid to come in, and back-to-back years he gets you to the Super Bowl. He wins one, and you were one offsides of going to a third. Just think about that. That jump off sides against the Patriots in the AFC Championship game, or, you getting another shot at it. You might have been to 3 straight Super Bowls with the young kid. I'm just telling you, quarterbacks, it's an old Hank Stram line, but it applies. He is by you. Either you got one or you're looking for one. There ain't no middle ground with it. And he is absolutely right about it. And there's just a handful of those guys. And it'll be interesting to see how this shakes out this offseason, because I do think the Brady effect has hit the NFL. You might not want to admit it, and you might be jealous of Brady, but it is the truth. That effect of that guy kind of laying his hands on a middle-of-the-road team and bringing them to another level has affected everybody. And here's the one thing you'll find out. There's only one of them like him.
Ask Mike about the Ed Orgeron character on Young Rock. Did you see it, Mike? The show about The Rock, and that Ed Orgeron had a part in, or someone depicting Ed Orgeron at Miami?
That guy's lousy.
He's skinny too, Mike. Was Ed ever that small?
I'm gonna say no.
All right.
Maybe when he was 14 years old.
Okay.
but man, come on, that guy was. Come on, but they were never that skinny.
That was my first thought. I was like, look how tiny that guy is.
But to hear that, come on, they could have done a little better job finding a guy that sort of talked like him. That it was a little bit too clear for me. So I knew that wasn't that was a bad deal there. But I get it. It's everything's for entertainment purposes. But if people get an opportunity, go find the video that Shannon Sharp interviews Warren Sapp. And
we played it. We played it. Yeah.
Oh, man. I mean, and that goes to kind of tell you the whole story about Ed. And so I asked him. I said, is that really true about you kind of gave The Rock the line about candy, what, and put it up, turn it sideways,
and stick it. What did he say? Stick it on the side.
And he told me, "Hey, Mike, that's the 29-year-old coach talking to me." He said, "I did say it." I did say it. But he said, so Sapp's right. But he said, listen, Sapp got much better stories than that. But one of the things that brought up about was, and boy, they both agreed, those practices back then were brutal at Miami. I mean, you better not be half-stepping it in practice. Now, today it's all totally different. They want to protect their players. And there was man, you got to protect yourself. And it was an all-out war in those practices at Miami when Jimmy was there. And then later on when Erickson took over, man, you had to watch out for yourself. And so it goes to show how, almost like in a blink of an eye, how college football has changed, the way you practice and everything else. It's sort of totally different than back then. But yeah, Ed confirmed that. I knew that had to be accurate.
Yeah,
that Sapp said it. I knew it had to be accurate.
It was good, man. Mike, what about you and I were talking a little bit off air about the 2022 LSU recruiting class?
Yeah, I think, Matt, you see a little shift here where they will still be a national recruit team, but I think you will see a much bigger presence in the state of Louisiana because of the talent level. And talking to other coaches and talking to people at LSU, everything else, man, this 2022 class is really good across the board, and you've got some depth at some areas that you don't normally get depth at. And you look already the verbal commitments LSU has from a Walker Howard at quarterback. Okay, you got your quarterback, but then you get arguably, if not the number 1 rated guy, but the number 2 rated guy in Will Campbell, a tackle. Now, when's the last time you had that type of player? Lael Collins?
Lyle would be it. Lael, and probably before that would be Whitworth, huh?
Yeah, would be Andrews. So, man, it's been a long time since you see that, and you see about the depth in the secondary. You already got one in Welch from Acadiana, but, you got Kendrick Law at Captain Shreve, Jordan Allen at Lafayette Christian. The wide receiver position, you got 4 guys, national recruits, in Chaz Preston, A.J. Johnson from Newman, Aaron Anderson, who's already committed, Edna Carr, and then Dakotas Crawford from Green Oaks out in Shreveport. You got 2 commitments of the 4 already. Now, I'm not saying you're going to get all 4, but if you get 3 of the 4, man, you've hit. And then 3 running backs, big time. And Le'Veon Moss from Ostruna. You have Trevor Etienne from Jennings, and Trevante Citizen from Lake Charles Prep. You got 3 now. Not all 3 of them are going to commit to LSU. Come on, but you can get 2 of those. But it's the defensive line, too, where you got people like Tapp from Ascension Catholic and Wiggins from Madison Prep and Ty J. Hill from Edna Carr, Maxey from Ascension Episcopal, Brock Harvey from West Monroe, and I think he decommitted, but I think he was an early commit to LSU, and Sean Washington from Warren Easton, who's back kind of looking around. And I get it, man. Listen, if I'm 17 years old, man, let me travel. I'm going to look all over, and, I'll make the decision later. Matt, there's some depth here, and I would not be surprised that you see that this football team, 16 to 17 recruits from the state of Louisiana in the next class. They'll still recruit heavily because they're getting interest from people across the country. So you got to pursue that. Anytime that happens, you got to pursue it. I know one thing, you got the coach that'll pursue it, that's for sure.
Yeah.
But this year in the state of Louisiana, I have never gotten so many calls this early about prospects from assistant coaches and head coaches about talent in the state of Louisiana for 2022. So that tells me you're seeing sort of a shift a little bit. Next year, all the talk's going to be about the quarterbacks, and you can understand they may have 6 Division I quarterbacks signed scholarships in 2023. 6. Wow. In my lifetime, I don't ever remember anything like that happening. So I think 2022, even though I think LSU will continue that national recruiting situation, and they're going to have some success there, I think this year, because of the talent level, you're going to see a heavier emphasis on the state of Louisiana for talent because you got it up front along the offensive line. And Emory Jones he's a national recruit also as an interior player. And Bo, at Isadora Newman, he's already committed, and he'll play center or guard in college football, and then certainly with Will. But you got probably 5, maybe 6 really talented defensive linemen. You probably got 4 or 5 really good secondary people. Jacoby Matthews from Ponchatoula, who I think will probably be in that 1, 2, or 3 when most of these ratings come out, along with Walker Howard and Will Campbell. Man, the talent level here is remarkable in this state, and I'm getting the calls. And so that is the first indication that when people are calling you saying, hey, listen, have you taken a look at this guy? What do you think? That sort of thing. Does he fit with us? What kind of work ethic does he have? Has he been to any of you guys' camps? Matt, Louisiana is going to be a hot state for recruiting for the 2022 cycle. Really hot because of the talent level here. And it's going to be a major battle. And already, LSU, what they've gotten with Walker, Campbell, Welsh, Anderson, Crawford. So that's 5 of what you want to call maybe the top 13 players in the state already. Man, so the fight's on. And that's to fight off some of the other suitors. And I do think one of the teams that will recruit, and he's tried and he's gotten a few, but I think a heavier presence from Jimbo Fisher in Texas A&M. I'm just saying. I think you will see
in Louisiana.
In Louisiana, you will see Jimbo Fisher and Texas A&M try to put a couple more flags in the ground. Of some of the big-time players, I think there's no doubt about it that I think that Jimbo feels maybe timing is right and I can do it. And it may not be so much – and, in Alabama's always going to kind of land 1, maybe 2 guys or try to. And they've done a good job of sealing the state from Alabama kind of handpicking, 4 or 5 like they used to do. But I think the big presence will be a little out west, and it will be Jimbo Fisher and A&M trying to get more into this state of Louisiana. Now, you figure, man, I can get me players in Texas. But, Jimbo's got a lot of things rolling in his head, and he's got a hot program right now.
Yeah.
He really does. He has a hot program.
Start on the text line. Here's Glenn who says, Mike, what do the Saints do at 28?
I would go cornerback there. I think once you settle your quarterback position, I'm looking at a young Marshawn Lattimore, but a 31-year-old Janoris Jenkins, a 30-year-old Patrick Robinson. Tell me the guy behind him. Man, you need 4 cornerbacks in this league, and you got 2 guys over 31 years old, 31 and over. You got to go there. So, I think a couple guys to watch. One would be Greg Newsome from Northwestern State, not in Louisiana, but Northwestern in Chicago, who's a really good football player, IMG guy. Another player to watch at that spot, I think, would be Tyson Campbell, who got coached by Patrick Surtain. Man, could you imagine that secondary of having Surtain and Tyson Campbell there? And from Georgia, who I think may test out when he works out as maybe the best of the athletes at corner. Needs a little bit of work. So I would go corner, and certainly linebacker is an area to look at 28 because once you get past DeMario Davis, what else you got?
Not a whole lot. That's obvious. Mitch asked Mike, did the Saints retain the entire offensive line from last year?
Yeah, I think, the tough cut was Easton, but you had to do it. And, it's always concerning to me long-term about his health when you have 3 concussions. Man, Matt, when you got 3 in 1 year, that man, outrage. So James Hurst now becomes a priority re-sign for this football team because he has started at guard and tackle for you. But I think you can bring back. The interesting question of the offseason is, will they make the move? Will they move McCoy over to the right guard position and kick Ruiz over to center, which I think is his best position? And now you've got the chance to do it. You're going to have some offseason to do it, but I do think you retain that. And, man, if you can keep Armstead and Ramczyk healthy, you got something on the edges.
Carl asked Mike, does Mark Ingram rejoin the Saints?
No. I don't see that.
Jeremy says, ask Mike, do you think Walker Howard is a better prospect than Arch Manning? Also asks who Howard reminds you of.
Arch is going to be the most highly recruited football player to ever step out of either in or out of the state of Louisiana, and I think it'll be out of the state of Louisiana. And so that sort of answers the question. I think a lot of Walker. Man, he's got a shotgun for an arm. He's gotten to be a much more accurate quarterback. He throws the football with really good rhythm. And, man, he's impressive. The way he can howitz that ball downfield. He's a power passer. And so he's impressive to me. That's a big get for LSU to get Walker Howard. Believe me, because he would have been a national recruit, just like what Arch is going to be, just like what Eli's going to be, right up the road from you, Matt.
Yeah. Last one. We got about 20 seconds, Mike. Who is LSU starting quarterback? This Will. Who is LSU starting quarterback against UCLA?
Miles Brennan.
All right. He is Mike Detillier, the one and only. Make sure you order your M&D draft report. Don't you let the draft come without having your M&D draft report. Go to MikeDetillier.com, MikeDetillier.com. Order it right there on the homepage. Mike's with us every Thursday. Mike D, you the man. We appreciate you as always.
Thank you, Matt.
Hey, thanks so much for watching. Please leave your comments. I love to interact. And be sure to hit the red subscribe button below.